From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Openline.
Well, good evening and welcome to Open Line. I'm Chuck Long. Glad to be here with you for the next hour. Tonight it's Ask the Expert, and we're going to be talking about medical malpractice. And I've got an interesting statistic here just for the top of the show. According to the American Medical Association, the Journal of the American Medical Association, medical negligence is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. behind heart disease and cancer. That's a staggering statistic. Very interesting there. So we're going to be talking about medical malpractice. We're going to be talking with attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. Always good to have Clint here with us. He is the expert in this area. And as always, this is your forum. So when you have a question or a comment, you want to give us a call. The number is 737-7587 right here on Open Line. So I do want to now welcome Clint Kelly. Always great to see you, Clint.
It's good to see you too, Chuck. That's a mind-boggling statistic too, isn't it, when you think about it?
And it really is.
And those are just the deaths. Those aren't the people who are left behind, the people who survive and are left with disabilities.
Well, and I think that's what, when people start to realize, you know, obviously no one wants something to happen to them, you know, whether they're under the hospital, under the doctor's care, that kind of thing. But things do happen. And that's why that really kind of brought it home when I saw that statistic, because I thought, you know, that really makes you aware that you need to be aware and you need to know what to do in that situation.
That's right. And that's probably, that statistic is something that has grown worse over the last 20 years. It used to be that the literature was about 98,000 people were dying per year, and we're now well over 250,000 people a year. There are a lot of different reasons for that, but primarily I believe the way that our health system has evolved over the last 20 years. Some would say decision making has been dumbed down and systemized, and because of that people get caught in the middle, and unfortunately, when something really bad happens, that's when I get called. Well,
and one of the things that we hope to do in this hour is to educate people as to what to do in a situation, because a lot of times that is the hard part, is that you're not sure what to do. And as always, one of the things that we love about Open Line, when we say that it is your forum, you may know someone who is in the situation. You can call them, tell them to turn the television on, watch for the next hour, and again, if they have questions or comments, to please call us at 615-737-7587. We like to get the dialogue going, to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Even, you know, a lot of times I think people, when they're watching, they think, you know, well, I'm not sure if this question is going to apply, but call, find out. That's what we want to do. Talk about that.
The call's free. So is the advice. That's what I'm here for, is to give advice to the public.
And, you know, Clint, too, I think is very important. The specialty of your area, as I was just reading, and we've of course done the show numerous times, but I always like to kind of read up and see some new things that are going on. But one of the things that always intrigues me is the fact that you have to be an expert in this area really to know truly what to do, the ins and outs, and that's what your firm does.
That's correct. We're probably, our firm is one of a small number of other firms that do this type of work exclusively. And when I say a small number, there are those of us that represent patients, and there are also those of us who represent the hospitals and doctors. And typically the bigger firms hire the attorneys to represent the doctors and the hospitals, and I'm a smaller firm, and a lot of us that do represent patients are from smaller firms, and we have to be very particular about the cases that we take because of that.
Well, and one of the things, too, when you think about medical negligence, it could happen in a doctor's office, it could happen in a dentist's office, it could happen at the hospital. There are a number of places, so kind of walk me through some of the areas where medical negligence does occur.
Well, hospitals are a primary place. That's probably the most common place where you're going to see a serious medical mistake, because those people are typically sick, and also that's where there are a lot of nurses and other type of staff involved. And in my experience, the worst types of injuries, the people who become paralyzed, or people who are rendered vegetables, or people who lose organs or limbs, it's during a surgical procedure or post-operative type of situation. So hospitals tend to be the worst.
And what constitutes medical malpractice?
The easiest way I know to describe it is it's a bad mistake that causes bad injuries. You put those two together and you've got a claim that should be investigated by a medical expert, and that's how I have them investigated. Is I will read a summary of what happened, and if I think the case warrants further investigation, I'll send it to a doctor.
Well, and you know, our viewers may be watching tonight and sitting, you know, wondering, is it hard? Because I would think a lot of times if you think that something, or if something did happen to you and you're wondering whether or not you can take action, a lot of times it almost feels like, I would think, that you're going up against such monumental odds with the big guys being the hospitals and the healthcare industry and that sort of thing. What do you tell someone that calls and says, it's almost like a David versus Goliath situation?
Well, it can be, but part of my job is to try to equalize those odds by hiring the best experts that I can hire, taking the best cases that I can take, and believing in the morality and the purpose of the cause. I mean, there is such a thing as justice, Chuck. That's what we try to achieve. And monetary justice and holding doctors and hospitals accountable is what I strive to do. And yes, it can be difficult. Sometimes it is a David and Goliath situation, but I try to even the odds as much as I can by making the best moves that I can for my clients to get them compensation.
All right. Well, as always on Open Line, it's your forum, and we're going to go to the lines right now. So I think we have Evelyn on the line with us. Evelyn, good evening. Glad that you're watching. And do you have a question or a comment for Clint Kelly?
Well, I have two questions. The first question is that I'm kind of confused. I don't know if my case is a malpractice case or not. And what it is that I had 2 partial hip replacements, and I know I have been contacted because they said they had a recall or something. But now I'm having a lot of medical issues, and I have to have both my hips totally replaced. So I don't know if that's a malpractice or if that's something else.
When did you get notice of the recalls, Evelyn?
It's been about a year ago.
And who's the manufacturer of the hip?
I believe they said Johnson & Johnson.
All right.
Or something like that.
And are they telling you, or have they told you, that you need to have those hips replaced because of a defect in the implant itself?
Yes, and I guess because they had got notified because I have been so sick, and I've been having a whole lot of problems. So I guess they found out because I was still going to the same hospital. So I guess they contacted me to let me know that I need to get checked. And I recently did, and they're saying that I have to have both my hips totally replaced.
All right. Has the physician told you why those hips need to be replaced?
It didn't make any sense, and I really didn't understand him. So he did, but I didn't understand what it meant, what he was saying.
Have you contacted a lawyer yet?
I did, and when the first thing they were talking about is how much money they were going to charge, and it just sounded like a whole lot, and I just said, never mind, because actually the doctor told me a couple of weeks ago that I had to have both of them replaced. So this is all recent to me, so I don't know what to do now.
Well, Evelyn, why don't you call my office tomorrow morning, and the phone number's 824-3703, and when you call, please...
Give it to me again.
Sure, 615-824-3703, and the phone number's up on the screen. And when you call in, you ask to speak to my nurse, and her name is Kathy Farrell. Or just say Nurse Kathy.
Okay.
And you tell her what happened to you tomorrow. She'll send me a report, and I'll let you know, or someone from my office will let you know whether we think you have a case and can go forward with it. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you so very much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Evelyn. And that's exactly, I think, one of the best things about this show is the fact that you can be out there watching, you have the questions, and the beauty of calling, a firm like Clint's, the Kelly firm, is it costs nothing to call.
That's right. And it sounds like what she was describing, Chuck, is a product liability claim, and we do handle hip claims. There have been some problems with the way hips have been manufactured by certain manufacturers like Smith & Nephew and Johnson & Johnson, Dupuis. I don't know if her case falls in that category, but some of them involve defective metals, some involve defective designs, but we have a consultant nurse on staff who works with us every day who's in tune with those types of cases and products, and she can give an analysis, and we can then determine whether we can take the case. But you're exactly right. It costs Evelyn nothing to make that phone call, and it doesn't cost her anything unless we recover money for her.
Okay, well, that is very good to know. We are talking about medical malpractice throughout the hour. This is Ask the Expert Hour here on Open Line, and we are talking to attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more Open Line, so come on back with us.
This is a Storm 5 HD weather update. Sign up for Weather Call at newschannel5.com.
Few passing puffy clouds during the afternoon hours this Thursday, and a few stray showers trying to generate. Although not much luck today, it'll be a mostly dry evening for us, although awfully warm and awfully humid. 69 is the expected overnight low. Temperatures soared back into the 80s and 90s today. Here's a look at current conditions across the southeast and here in Nashville. Reminder to you, this is updated on the hour. Now, overnight tonight, we dropped down to 69, still above average. Average this time of year is actually all the way down to 61, so we're very much still entrenched in a warm weather pattern. About a 20% chance you'll see showers and storms tomorrow afternoon with the peak heating, and there will be plenty of it with that high of 92. Cold front comes this weekend. It will help generate some showers and storms both Saturday and Sunday. Some dry time mixed in there as well, but for the most part, you want to plan on a fairly unsettled weekend with slightly cooler temperatures.
Mr. Haddock, I'm glad to be here. I wish you'd called us earlier.
We didn't think we could really afford a lawyer.
You don't need any money. We only get paid when you get paid.
That's great.
Today we'll be making a brand new Kia Soul. Start with $0 down, $199 a month. Include the tax, tag transfer, title, and all the fees. And best of all, it's not a lease.
You own it.
Finally, add a JD Power Award for highest in initial quality in its class. And stick that in the oven. Thankfully, I prepared one ahead of time. Franklin Kia,
Keep it awesome.
Here at Creekside at Three Rivers, we're putting the finishing touches on our all-new Creekside Villas. The Creekside Villas are a new part of our innovative memory care program. They feature a home-like setting, but with nurses and caregivers on duty 24/7. Our villa residents will even enjoy home-cooked meals. Best of all, our families will know that their loved ones are safe and secure. To learn more about the all-new Creekside Villas, visit us online or call today to schedule a tour.
Are you decorating, remodeling, or building a home? Find all the help you need at the 33rd Annual Home Decorating and Remodeling Show, presented by the Better Business Bureau at the Music City Center, September 16th through the 18th. We have hundreds of experts in design, decorating, and remodeling. It's Nashville's largest home show. Take advantage of all the great deals and discounts found only at the Home Decorating and Remodeling Show, because you can't touch quality on the internet. September 16th through the 18th, Music City Center. Be there.
Man, my car is wrecked.
We're going to get your car fixed or get you money for your car. When the doctor releases you, we're going to get money for your pain and suffering and for your loss of work.
And you are watching Open Line. Chuck Long here with you this evening. We are asking the expert. We are talking about medical malpractice. Expert tonight is attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm here in the Nashville area. You know, a lot of times we say this show is for you, and I think no time like, especially this evening, does that ring truer, because a lot of times you don't know what to do in a medical malpractice situation. We're helping you answer those questions tonight. Our phone's busy tonight. If you do have a question, again, we're here to answer those questions for you, and the number is 737-7587. We are going to go right back to our phones. Loretta is on the line with us right now. Loretta, thanks for watching this evening, and do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
I do have a question.
Okay.
I went probably about 7 months ago. I ended up with a stomach bug. Ended up having to go to a walk-in clinic, and they give me an injection, a Phenergan injection. As soon as she started giving me the injection, I told her I felt like she was hitting something. Something didn't feel right. She still continued on with the injection. Several days after that, my whole left side of my thigh up towards the lower part of my back was swollen. Ended up going to the doctor. Back to the doctor, and they felt like it was from the injection where a nerve was hit. I have seen several doctors, and each doctor feels it's from this injection. The doctor that I'm seeing now, he's done injections in my back around that nerve, and he's just recently burned the nerves. And his medical opinion, it falls back down to that injection. When I told her that it hurt at that point, he said it immediately should have never been finished given. It's caused me to be at work for about 7 months. I've just got where I can go back, but I'm still on restrictions with that. He also done an EMG to see if there was any type of nerve damage. So he had sent me to another specialist, and it did show that I did have sciatic nerve damage, and that doctor also feels like it's from that injection.
Yeah, that is a rare complication of giving an injection. I've heard of a couple of cases like that in the past where patients have had basically had a nerve speared during an injection, and it will cause either a temporary paralysis or damage to the nerve. Typically, patients make a full recovery within a year. Not always, but that's what neurologists will tell you. The electromyogram is a test to determine whether or not she's got some kind of damage to the nerve. Sounds like that test has come back positive, and so the question becomes how far along will she be able to make a full recovery. The fact she's going back to work after 7 months is very encouraging, but it's one of those situations where probably when she gets to when Loretta gets to month 10, if she hasn't made a full recovery, she ought to call us or call another attorney and ask whether or not to have the claim investigated. I will say this, in some situations these are risks that unfortunately have to be assumed by the patient, but if you're telling the nurse it's hurting and the nurse is persistent in giving the injection, then it would seem to me that's something that would be worth looking into as potentially being a case of negligence.
Okay. All right. Loretta, thanks so much for calling this evening.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening. All right, going right back to the phones. Renee is on 2 with us. Renee, glad you're watching. Do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I had back surgery done in October of '08, and it was supposed to be the complete discectomy. I don't know how to say that word, but he just went in and kind of tucked it back in. A week later, it ruptured after I got home. I went back in to have my second surgery to get it done the way it was supposed to have been done the first time by the same doctor. I also have lupus, so a year later it felt like nothing had ever been done. So he thought maybe the titanium in the screws had, the lupus was affecting that, so he went in again for the third time. That was in '09, and took out the 2 screws on the right. It still did not have any relief whatsoever. They had left it up against my sciatic nerve for so long that it caused permanent damage to my right leg. I went from here to California from the third surgery until 2013 looking for help, and just got sent to pain management. And of course, you know how that goes with the narcotics and all that. I was limited because of my other illnesses. I got back to Tennessee, and in October of 2013, I found a doctor that specialized just in failed back surgeries. I wound up having an 8-hour surgery that they had to go in through my stomach first for about 3.5 hours, and then turn me over and go into my back for the remainder of the time. There's nothing they can do now. I still suffer with the nerve damage and the pain. It does feel better. I'm a little more able to get around and do a little bit more, but I'm on disability now. But it's not like I stopped looking for a treatment, because I traveled from Tennessee to California finding somebody that could help me. Well, the doctor that did my final surgery, his first words to my parents when he come out was the first surgery was botched, that he had pulled out, supposedly there was supposed to have been a cage implanted, and it never was, and what was implanted in me had disintegrated, and part of that bone spur had been placed upon the spine and the nerves. So it's been 3 years, and I have talked to another attorney, but, they don't want to take it. Like you were saying, the big hospital doctor attorneys is who I contacted. So I don't know if, it hasn't been 10 years. I don't know what the length of time is to do anything. Is there anything that can be done?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Renee, because we haven't talked about the statute of limitations yet. In Tennessee, you have 1 year from the date that you discover you're injured to file what's called a pre-suit notice. on the doctor or the hospital who you're bringing a claim against, and in no event are you allowed to bring a lawsuit more than 3 years after the negligent act, unless there's fraud or unless there's been some type of foreign instrument left in your body. Going back over your chronology, it would seem that the first act of negligence occurred in 2008 and then perhaps in 2009, so you would be well beyond the time frame in which the law allows you to bring a lawsuit, or at least file pre-suit notice, because I don't think there's anything from what you're saying that was done wrong in October of 2013, because that doctor's trying to basically fix her. This is why it's so important for people when they have had something wrong done to them, Chuck, to pick up the phone just like Renee did and call. But don't wait a year, don't wait 2 years, don't even wait a month. If you believe that you have been the victim of a major bad medical mistake, pick up the phone and call, because it costs you nothing. But if you wait, and you wait too long, which I believe unfortunately in Renee's case is the situation, you're not going to get your day in court because the law will not let you file a lawsuit.
Okay. All right, well, that is good to know. So, Renee, I know that that's hard to hear, but we do appreciate you bringing that up, because a lot of people, you know, will benefit from that information. All right, well, thanks for calling. Have a great evening. All right, we are going back to the lines right now, so I think Christy is on the line with us. Christy, we're glad that you called, and do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely.
And my question is, back in 2015, I had some hip surgery. And back in January, on the 23rd, whatever, anyway, January of last year, I had left hip surgery. Then, and that surgery went fine. On the second hip surgery was 4 weeks later, or a few days less than 4 weeks later, I had my right hip surgery done. They placed 3 titanium pins in each hip. But after I had the second surgery, within a week, I had thrown a dozen blood clots to my right lung. Come to find out, I was never given any blood thinners, anything to take home for the 2 weeks that I was supposed to have given to me. And now I have permanent damage. It didn't help the hips any, and I didn't know if I'm not worried about the money. I just don't want it. The next person that goes through this, if they die, I was very fortunate that I didn't die. And I was just wondering what it is that I could do to keep this certain position from being able to do this to somebody else.
Christy, did you give a thought or consideration of calling a lawyer sometime last year about this?
Yes, I called several, and nobody wanted to take it because they said that with the big doctors and hospitals and stuff, that I had to go out of state to get a lawyer, and I can't do that. I don't have any money to do something like that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Sounds like you called the wrong guys. Christy brings up a very, very important. There's a medical topic and a legal topic. Legally, I'm afraid that the time has passed on her too, because if the surgery occurred in January or February of 2015, we're well beyond the year, and it sounds to me what she's describing is a pulmonary embolism or blood clot in the lungs. And Chuck, it is now deemed to be the #1 leading cause of preventable deaths in hospitals. The Surgeon General issued a call to action back in 2008 warning all the hospitals to create policies and protocols for the prevention of blood clots. The foremost tool in that effort is use of a subcutaneous drug or a shot called heparin, which is just a blood thinner, anticoagulant. And it is classic textbook medicine that if a patient's going to have a hip replacement, they are to get a shot of heparin throughout, before the surgery, during, and some after, because blood clots are notorious in hip replacements, because the patient has to be immobilized, and because of that there's what they call stasis, or pooling of blood in the lower veins of the leg, which can then travel into the heart and then into the pulmonary artery, which can kill. And thank God in Christy's case it did not, but it doesn't make it any less bad for her that she's had to go through this horrible situation. What can you do about the doctor, Christy? You can report the physician to the Medical Board of Examiners if you feel that that's what you need to do. Also, you can go on the internet and report what's happened to you so that other people can see that affiliated with this doctor. There is no excuse in 2016 or 15 for that matter in not getting heparin to prevent blood clots so that something doesn't happen to somebody else like what happened to Christy.
All right, very good to know. So, Christy, thank you so much for calling in. Sorry that you've had a tough time. But again, when you call a lot of times with the situations you're going through, I know that it helps other viewers to hear things that they can do. You know, maybe they made a mistake and now they can figure out, oh, I've got a call within that year. Right. So it's always good to know. So we do appreciate it. We've got quite a few folks on the line with us, but we do need to take a break. Stay on the line with us. If you have a question or comment, 737-7587 is the number to call. We'll take a break and more Open Line right after this.
Attention homeowners, we're looking for 30 homes to participate in our home evaluation program. We want to eliminate this problem. Leaky, saggy gutters. Don't go through another fall and winter with those old gutters. Look at LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system. It's earned the prestigious Good Housekeeping seal. LeafGuard, the water goes in, keeps out the leaves, pine needles, and other debris. Look at the colors to choose from. Call LeafGuard today and take advantage of special savings. Don't do this anymore. Climb a ladder and put your hands in that old gunk in the wintertime to clean out the gutters. Stop doing that. Pick up the phone and be one of 30 homeowners to get these special savings. Zip code and location are important. We'll put a Good Neighbor sign in your yard, curb appeal counts, and you'll get 75% off installation. You're going to be compensated for your time with a $200 gift card. And if you call now, dinner for two with your in-home estimate. Ask about refer a tell a friend. You could get cash back.
My car's here. I'll be home tonight.
God, I wish he was still here.
Grief is normal after a loved one dies, but almost 1 in 10 people will get complicated grief. A grief that causes people to withdraw from life. It often strikes those who have lost a spouse they were unusually dependent upon or lost someone to an unexpected death. Now, these effects can also include substance abuse, isolation, physical illnesses. Fortunately, we have effective treatments.
If you know someone who may have complicated grief, it's best to get treatment from a clinical psychologist or social worker. Treatment is covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and most insurances.
Back on Open Line here, we are talking about medical malpractice. And I tell you, we're here with Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. A lot of you calling in, and one of the things that's always so nice, like we were saying just before the break, is when you share your stories, it helps other people to learn from. There are certain mistakes that can be made, like not calling within the year, and it helps, I know, other people to hear that there is that statute of limitations. So I love it when people call. We do have a busy phone line. When you do explain your situation, because our phone lines are busy, if you could be as succinct as possible, that will help us all out. So we're going back to the lines right now. Brian is on the line with us. Brian, good evening. Do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
Yeah, good evening to you both. I have a question for Attorney Kelly.
Okay.
You know, you see the national attorney firms that always have a claim about medical devices or some type of drug that is later on found out to cause problems. One of the newest one I've seen is anti-acid medication, Nexium, Prilosec, anti-digestion medications like that they're saying now causes kidney problems, and I wanted to see was there any relevance to that because I use those products on a regular basis. And also, second, as far as extending the statute of limitations, I've called my state legislator about that. He's a Democrat, and he said he has already lobbied for that. But right now, the Republicans are making it hard for anything except the 1-year statute of limitations in the House of Legislation in Tennessee. And if you could address that also. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
As far as the Nexium and Propulsid, potential litigation. It's proton inhibitors, and I believe the allegation is that somehow it can cause kidney damage or some sort of renal impairment. Brian, unfortunately, I am not familiar with the basis of the claims other than you do see the national firms advertising for them, and what they're doing is they're recruiting cases. That's what they do. They try to recruit as many cases as they can to create so many, let's just call it a big bag or wave of cases, and then they can go into court with these cases and use them as leverage to try to get them settled. There may be merit to it, there may not be. There's a lot of people that use Nexium. My wife's used Nexium before, so it's concerning when you see these ads, but I wish I could tell you more, Brian. I don't, because it's just too new. I haven't been to one of those seminars. The statute of limitations issue, Brian is absolutely right, and it's very unfortunate. The way that our government right now is controlled by Republicans, and in particular people who protect hospitals and insurance companies, they are not going to extend the statute of limitations because in their judgment they believe that that will result in more people getting their day in court. More people get their day in court, that means more claims means more money paid out, and they want to keep the doors shut on the court as tight as possible. So until there is a major political change, I don't see the statute of limitation being extended, so people like Christy and Renee and others who may have had claims, they're never going to get their day in court because the year is going to stay the year.
Yeah, well, and that's a shame, but it does help, like you say, you know, there may have to be a major political shift, but it helps when people make sure that their voices are heard. So, Brian, thank you very much for calling. So we're going back to the lines. Like I said, very busy on the lines tonight. Pamela, what is on your mind?
Yes, my father had passed away in January from okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to. I didn't realize that TV was going to do that.
All right.
Anyhow, he had decided for he wanted to go on and be with the Lord, but my mother didn't. She had developed pneumonia, and she had to go into the hospital for an IV. And while she was there, they were real nice to her the first 2 days. But then this one particular head nurse had come through started acting funny toward my mother, and she would like do this whirling like mother was senile, and she wasn't. They all thought that mother wanted to go on and be with the Lord, too, because Daddy left. But have you noticed that it always gets noisy when you get on the phone? Sorry, I'm trying.
Oh, that's okay. And Pamela, just in the interest of time, I apologize. But so if you could kind of, if you could get to where we need to go, okay?
The day that she came into my mother's room, she had already been told not to give the pill laying down because mother had choking issues. The nurse gave her a pill, a stomach pill, and between that and water, she got to coughing. And the nurse just kept standing there. I kept begging her to come help me with my mom. She acted like mother was pretending. When we finally got mother set up, and she still hadn't took a breath through all of that because the pill was caught. She held her hand on each side of my mother's shoulder. That's all she did on continuing to help. And mother, I guess, tightened her hand up because the last of her breath gave out then, and her heart stopped.
I'm sorry.
And I had to call the cold blue. I'm trying not to be emotional, but I don't know how not to be. And so twice the doctors would stop in their restoration to ask me, was I sure mother would want this? And I said, certainly she wouldn't want to die of choking on a pill that she doesn't even take it home. And the nurse wouldn't help me. And so while they were still doing it, I had knelt down and grabbed her hand to pray. And I noticed they didn't have the backboard under her. And so each time they would stop the compressions, her heart would stop. So when the doctor, yelled at the nurses, and, because it wasn't under her back, they had to put it under her back. But after that, she got her heartbeat back. But they had to move her into ICU. And we got 2 times of her shaking her head, yes and no, before all of her organs, even the brain, had started shutting down because they said with that long list without oxygen. So on the 20th, we
I'm so sorry, Pamela.
And the whole purpose is you can't get a doctor's letter. They call it a letter of, I'm not sure what they call it, but without it you can't even get a court date. You can't even take it to court. But I think that woman needs to lose her license, and the hospital needs to be fined and get everybody retrained because they were messing up on the resuscitation. I had to feel like Mama died because I didn't remember how to help her.
And I know that's so hard. What happens in a situation? What's your advice?
First of all, I think, Pamela, you ought to call the office tomorrow morning and ask to speak to my nurse consultant. Her name's Kathy Farrell, and go through the background. Now, you're going to need to try to keep it together emotionally to go through the history, because I'm sure there's important information you know that you've got to be able to provide in order for me to make a judgment on this, because I can't tell if your mom, if she died because of the pill, if she died because of some other complications. Hard for me to tell, and right now it's going to be a very delicate issue to deal with personally. But please call in the morning, because I can't make a judgment like that on TV without knowing more of the facts. But I or someone from my office will get back to you after you've given that background, and we'll let you know what we think.
And Pamela, the number, can we give you the number? Yeah, it's 615-824-3703. So that's 615-824. It's on the screen right there. So, Pamela, we are sorry. I know it's been a tough time. So give them a call first thing tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, you very much.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. We are going to take a short break. Again, we have a lot of callers online with us. So stay on the line. We really appreciate your patience. We'll take this break, and we'll be back with more Open Line right after this.
This is a Storm 5 HD weather update. Sign up for Weather Call at newschannel5.com.
Few passing puffy clouds during the afternoon hours this Thursday, and a few stray showers trying to generate. Although not much luck today, it'll be a mostly dry evening for us, although awfully warm and awfully humid. 69 is the expected overnight low. Temperatures soared back into the 80s and 90s today. Here's a look at current conditions across the southeast. And here in Nashville, reminder to you, this is updated on the hour. Now, overnight tonight, we dropped down to 69, still above average. Average this time of year is actually all the way down to 61, so we're very much still entrenched in a warm weather pattern. About a 20% chance you'll see showers and storms tomorrow afternoon with the peak heating, and there will be plenty of it with that high of 92. Cold front comes this weekend. It will help generate some showers and storms both Saturday and Sunday. Some dry time mixed in there as well, but for the most part, you want to plan on a fairly unsettled weekend with slightly cooler temperatures.
Here at Creekside at Three Rivers, we're putting the finishing touches on our all-new Creekside Villas. The Creekside Villas are a new part of our innovative memory care program. They feature a home-like setting, but with nurses and caregivers on duty 24/7. Our villa residents will even enjoy home-cooked meals. Best of all, our families will know that their loved ones are safe and secure. To learn more about the all-new Creekside Villas, visit us online or call today to schedule a tour.
We're keeping it awesome at the all-new Franklin Kia this week by offering 0 down on every new Kia in stock. That's right, every new Kia on the lot, 0 down. Like a brand new Kia Soul. No money down, just $199 a month. That includes your tax, your tag transfer, your title, and all the fees. And best of all, it's not a lease, you own it. That's right, 0 down on every new Kia on the lot. Going on right now at Franklin Kia. Franklin Kia, keeping it awesome. Okay, now how do I shut this thing off?
Call Bart Durham Injury Law at 242-9000 because you deserve to be paid for what you've gone through.
Friday on Talk of the Town, if you have this in your backyard, you could be making this fun project over the weekend. It's one of the most popular fall crafts on Carianne Wood's Thistlewood Farms blog. She'll show us how easy and affordable it is to make. Then Leland's taking us out to lunch. One of Nashville's favorite food trucks now has a brick-and-mortar home. See why everyone's raving about Funk Soul Brother. Plus, Tawanda's live with great ideas from the Home Decorating and Remodeling Show, and you can win tickets Friday at 11.
This is your view every morning. Sky 5 rises and shines just like you do. To get to the news you need faster than anyone else. The only full-time morning news helicopter. Sky 5 is a difference you can see every morning. Only on News Channel 5.
Well, we're glad you tuned in to Open Line tonight. I'm Chuck Long here with Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm, attorney Clint Kelly. We are talking about medical malpractice. So many questions, so many comments on the show tonight, and we appreciate all of them. We are going to go right back to our lines to get to as many calls during this segment as we can. So we're going back right now. We're going to talk to Marilyn. Marilyn, thanks for your patience, and what is on your mind this evening?
Yes, I'm calling also about the time frame in Tennessee. I went through a situation where it was a job-related injury to my wrist, and they sent me through all the rehab, all of that, and then I still had problems. I went through rehab. I was off from work, came back to work, still had problems, all the while it's going on. So then eventually they just told me that I needed to go back to work. I did, still had problems. Time goes on. So eventually, I had such a problem. One doctor I went to, I had to ask for a second opinion, which I was frowned on and fussed at because I was even asking for a second opinion. That doctor did another test, the dye test, and found out that there was a tear in my wrist that was only showing up through the dye test. The years had passed. So in that case, what does a person do? I mean, I was misdiagnosed for all of this time.
When did you have the rehab done, Marilyn? What year?
A long time ago. I'm just saying about the laws and the time frame. There needs to be something that can be done. If you're going to doctors and they're misdiagnosing you and not giving you the correct answers for what you need to have done for yourself.
Well, see, Marilyn's talking about something that was brought up by Brian earlier, which is the statute of limitations issue. There needs to be a lengthening of the limitations period. She wants to know Tennessee law. Like we say, it's 1 year from the date you discover that there's been negligence, but you can't file the claim if it's been 3 years since the negligent act. I mean, it's a tight window. And until there's a political change, Marilyn, until people finally start calling their legislators and say, look, we want to have an opportunity just to get our day in court. Doesn't mean we're going to win, but we at least want to have a right to sue and do it in a reasonable time frame. And most of your states have 2 years or 3 year statute of limitations. Until we have a change on that, this is the way it's going to be.
And that is?
Sounds like she's got a workers' compensation issue too, which I'm not qualified to give an opinion on, but there's a lot going on with Marilyn.
All right, well, good to know. So, Marilyn, thank you for calling this evening, and I know it's frustrating, like some of the stories that we have heard throughout the evening. And you know, another thing is, I think some people, when they have a situation, they have a problem, the problem may have started in a January, and it's not until, you know, a March or April that they realize there is an ongoing problem. But it still starts and dates back from the time of the problem?
Well, from the time they discover the problem. So if you had a procedure done in January and then you learned in March that something went wrong, or you had an injury and it was likely traceable to the physician or hospital's neglect, you would have a year from that date of discovery to bring your claim. But again, as I keep telling people, don't wait a year, don't even wait a month. Pick up the phone and call, because the call is free and the client doesn't pay anything unless there's a recovery.
All right, good to know once again. All right, we are going back to our lines right now. So Hiram, thank you so much for your patience this evening. We're glad you're on the line with us. What is your question or comment?
Okay, I got a comment and a question.
Okay.
I want to start off with, I wanted to find out regarding incidents. There was 2 separate incidents happened. It's been in the past, and what happened was certain things happened, and I didn't get no medical attention, but then 3 other opportunities in Nashville, I had medical attention, and at one of the hospitals, they had a McDonald's there, a restaurant, and then they come to find out they did they shoot the girls from Playboy and the McDonald's, and could that do something regarding my cases about my diagnosis being real or truthful regarding the situation, if they were telling the truth or not about the diagnosis? And I want to get y'all's comment about it. Thank you.
Hiram, you're just going to need to call my office in the morning and ask to speak to Nurse Kathy, because I can't tell enough from what you told me on the phone to make a judgment on this. I need more facts.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And you can stay tuned. We'll bring you that number during this segment. So stay tuned and you'll get that number and you can call. And again, call costs nothing. It's free. It's very important to know that. All right, we're going back to the lines right now. So Mary is on the line with us. Mary, we're glad that you're watching this evening. And do you have a question or a comment for Clint?
Yes, I'm disabled, and I had hip surgery and everything like that, and I had a reconstructed ankle. What I'm talking about, I'm chronic pain, severe chronic pain. So my doctor had me on so much medicine, like morphine 30, Oxy-10, and so much other medicine. So what gave me mostly a relief was when I was laying on a magnetic pad, and it stopped me from aching in my joints and stuff. So one day I had I guess a stroke-like, seizure-like system, and I went to the hospital. Well, they had put me in the bed. I guess they gave me an EEG. From that time that I came back, I guess my electrodes in my body transparent that EEG procedure back in my body, because when I sit back on the bed, the whole procedure of the EEG is here with me. And I was wondering, what case do I have, or what can I do about this?
Okay.
Mary, that just doesn't sound like a case I'd probably take, and there are a variety of reasons for that, but in a situation like that, that's one of those, I think that's going to be hard to prove negligence in a case like that.
Okay.
That's my judgment.
And, you know, one of the things, too, we've heard a lot of cases, a lot of situations this evening. And one of the things, I think, when people are watching, you know, what are some of the areas that you deal with? Because you deal with everything, surgical mistakes, birth trauma, anesthetic error, prescription mix-up. I mean, there's so many areas that you do deal with.
Right. And, you know, a lot of the cases involve post-surgical care where it's bad. The surgery may go okay, and then everything's ruined because the aftercare is bad. Prescription errors where a patient's supposed to get one type of medication and they get another, and believe it or not, that happens, Chuck, more often than you want to admit. Another area is misdiagnosis, you know, where patients are brought in and a diagnosis could be made by a reasonably prudent doctor or other healthcare professional, and it's missed, and it's missed badly. And then I've seen, surprisingly, more medical batteries, which is a legal term for operating on the wrong part or operating on the wrong person. And those cases seem to be increasing, and I think that may have something to do with the fact there's more volume in the hospitals and less of a safety margin, making sure that we're working on the right person.
All right, well, tonight, if you're just tuning in, we are asking the expert. The expert tonight is attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. We're talking about medical malpractice, how it can affect you, how can it affect friends, family members, and that kind of thing. One of the things that I think is almost an overriding issue in this area is that statute of limitations. But you and I were talking a little bit during the break. Kind of explain where it starts if someone doesn't recognize the problem until maybe 3 months after that it might actually have occurred in the hospital or at the doctor's office.
Right. A typical example would be somebody, let's say, who had surgery in January to repair a gallbladder, and the repair was done improperly. There was a bile duct that was cut during the procedure, and the patient, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks later, changes color, turns jaundice, begins getting really, really sick, and goes to the hospital, and it takes about maybe 3 or 4 weeks after that surgery to determine that the bile duct was cut, and that's the cause of the injury. You had 1 year from the date that you discovered that bile duct was cut. That's longer than the time when the actual surgery occurs, because the law says, look, we are going to give you 1 year from the date you learned that you were a victim of negligence. So that would be a situation where it's the date of discovery that the year would begin to run. But like I said, Chuck, you don't want to wait a year, you don't want to wait a month. You want to call as soon as you believe there's been a bad medical mistake and a bad injury.
And if you are just tuning in, we're talking about medical negligence, we're talking about medical malpractice, how it can affect you, how it can affect loved ones. I know sometimes someone has a very strong case, but they ought not to do anything. Do you encounter that? very often? And have you found out why people don't do anything?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One reason is there's a religious or moral opposition to lawsuits. It's just some people are taught that way or raised that way, that it's not Christian to sue somebody. Another reason would be someone who believes, I'm going to get over it. I'm just going to get over it. And then a year passes or longer and they realize they're not going to get over it and they can't feed their family anymore. Those are the two customary reasons why people will not bring a claim even if they do have a meritorious case to bring.
Now, I know on occasion, too, people read that if you're older, it's harder to bring a case like this. Is that myth? Is that fact, fiction?
It's true. We enacted caps in Tennessee back in 2010 and 2011. Again, the legislature turned hard Republican, and when it did, that was the first thing they did was pass tort reform. The legislature has capped damages on what they call non-economic damages, which hits the elderly the most, because basically in those cases you're capped at $750,000 because a lot of those people don't earn money anymore. They're out of the workforce. So the law punishes the elderly people in favor of taking cases for young people or perhaps people that are still working. And that was the intention of the law, was to cut down on the number of claims. But by doing that, they cut out a lot of people who had worthy claims to bring, because there's not enough money at stake to justify the expense. And some of these cases can cost me $100,000 to get to trial.
Well, and another thing that's important, and again, if you are just tuning in, we don't have a lot of time left in this show, but one thing that's important is I know a lot of times when someone is considering, do I have a case or not, it's like, and do I go meet with the attorney? They're thinking that's going to cost to meet with the attorney. But it is important, we've said it often, but it is important when they call you, it costs nothing to contact you.
It's absolutely free, and the client doesn't pay anything until there's money recovered. So unless there's money recovered, some type of settlement or verdict, client's not out anything. I don't want to say there's nothing to lose, because there's always emotional investment in these cases, but there's no financial loss involved. That's why, I'll say it again, it costs nothing to make the call. It can make the difference between someone being able to feed their family and someone not being able to, or someone being able to hold a doctor or hospital accountable and someone not.
Have you seen more cases in certain areas than other areas when people contact you, as far as things that have happened? Yeah, right now what I'm seeing more of than anything else are prescription errors, and I'm seeing post-operative care that's not good. And it's not necessarily the doctors. The doctors may do a very good job during the surgery, but the nurses who are assigned to take care of the patient after the surgery don't do a good job afterwards, and they'll let what starts as a campfire turn into a forest fire, and by that time it's too late, and the patient either dies or has a terrible post-operative complication such as paralysis. And so I'm seeing more and more of that right now, because I think that's the way our healthcare system's going. Well, and you mentioned prescription errors, and to me that would be a situation where if there is an error, you may not see the effects until maybe months later. So is that another situation with the statute of limitations?
It is, and I'll tell you another area where that's happening, Chuck, in prescription errors are pharmacies. I've seen more and more people, or I'm getting more and more calls from people who went in to have one prescription filled, they took 2 or 3 pills and realized it's the wrong prescription. Sometimes they're harmed badly, sometimes they're not really harmed at all, but imagine if you can't even trust the pill that's coming out of your bottle being the right medication, that's a big problem.
Well, and how does that affect then if they don't realize it until a month later, two months later?
1 year or however long it is, they discover they were given the wrong medication. I had one lady that was prescribed tramadol, and they got the dosage wrong. It was supposed to be 200 milligrams. She took 400 milligrams of 400 milligram pills, and 2 weeks later had a seizure. And she didn't know it until she went to the emergency room. They told her the reason for the seizure was the tramadol overdose.
And so that is when the time would start.
The year would run when she learned that she had a seizure from tramadol overdose.
Wow. And just so that people are clear as they are tuning in just toward the end of the show, is that statute of limitations though is 1 year, but it's only like that in Tennessee. I mean, other states sometimes have longer
ones.
Yeah.
That's correct. And we are in a small minority of states that have just a 1 year statute of limitations from the date of discovery. Most states have at least 2 years.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, we're going to have a big change, hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah, soon. So, all right. When we come back, we are going to give the information on how you can contact the Kelly firm. This is Open Line. We'll be right back after this.
Attention homeowners, we're looking for 30 homes to participate in our home evaluation program. We want to eliminate this problem. Leaky, saggy gutters. Don't go through another fall and winter with those old gutters. Look at LeafGuard, the only seamless one-piece rainwater management system. It's earned the prestigious Good Housekeeping seal. LeafGuard, the water goes in, keeps out the leaves, pine needles, and other debris. Look at the colors to choose from. Call LeafGuard today and take advantage of special savings. Don't do this anymore. Climb a ladder and put your hands in that old gunk in the wintertime to clean out the gutters. Stop doing that. Pick up the phone and be one of 30 homeowners to get these special savings. Zip code and location are important. We'll put a good neighbor sign in your yard, curb appeal counts, and you'll get 75% off installation. You're going to be compensated for your time with a $200 gift card. And if you call now, dinner for two with your in-home estimate. Ask about refer a tell a friend. You could get cash back.
This may be the last episode of the Rachel Ray Show.
Dr. Ross checks in.
He scared me.
And gives Rach a checkup.
I've almost drowned myself.
Then
let me get a squig out.
Meet Jake Smollett, the killer cook and little bro of Empire's Jussie Smollett. Plus, why are bikers pulling up outside our studio? Next, Rachel.
Tomorrow morning at 9 on News Channel 5.
If we want to improve America's healthcare system, let's start by improving the health of Americans. Despite the best doctors, hospitals, and medical advancements, Americans are not as healthy as they should be. We spend too much on treatment and not enough on wellness and prevention. We need a system based on primary care. When patients have a medical home and a long-term relationship with a doctor, the result is a longer, healthier life and reduced medical costs for everyone. Let's make America a place where health is primary.
Back on Open Line, we've been talking with attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm about medical malpractice throughout the evening. Did want to make sure that you get the contact information if you want to call the Kelly firm. See it on your screen right there, 615-824-3703. That's 615-824-3703. And again, just Clint, in the last 10 seconds, when they call, it doesn't cost anything.
It's free consultation. Client doesn't pay anything unless there's a recovery.
All right. That is always good to know. Clint, always a pleasure having you here.
Good. Thank you.
All right. All right. Stay tuned for Southern Woods and Water because they're going to be talking about collegiate bass fishing. We'll see you next time.